So recently I did this event, and after the event, I had the opportunity to talk to somebody in the audience, and he asked me a question about the guys that were in the Humvee the day that I was injured. Have I spoken to them? Do I have any connection with them? And I actually have the footage of that. So here, I'm gonna watch it for context. It is. And
So I know you mentioned the guys that were with you in the vehicle when you ran over the bomb. Do you stay in touch with them, or have you connected with them?
So one of them I have not spoken
Okay.
to. The other two I have connected
Okay.
with. One of them more than the other. But you know, that's how I knew. So for so many years, on the 5th of April, I was always by myself, right? Like I didn't have any connection with the guys. There's a whole other story that I could tell in
I'm sure
regards
there's a
to
lot. Yeah.
leadership getting on to me, giving me a briefing about how we are bonded and always going to be together and look after one another forever. And yet when I was injured, no one was there.
Right.
And I felt abandoned by my team. And I was like, oh, all that was talk. And I would look around me at the hospital when I was visiting patients, and I would see people from their unit come and visit them, even if it was for a weekend, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I was like, so
Hard to see that.
it's hard to see that,
Yeah.
right? And so I developed a lot of resentment towards guys on my team. All right, so that got me thinking. You know, one of the things that I struggled with after I was injured was, listen, I have a whole history, and I'm probably going to do a series of this. Not that you want to necessarily be exposed to my trauma, but I have a long history of where I have felt there has been elements of where I've been abandoned. Started with my father at 9 months old, leaving. People were in and out of my life, whether it was people that my mother was dating, seeing at the time, moving a lot. There was never really a consistent thing in my life. So I have a long history of not trusting, thinking that people would just leave, feeling abandoned. And one of the things that I loved about the military that was instilled in me, I vividly remember one day my lieutenant taking me outside in the desert. And if you've been in the military, you understand what it means to be smoked. He smoked me. And what that means is he literally made me do every exercise that he could think of while he lectured me on how we're a brotherhood. Straight up, we're a brotherhood. We look after one another. We're always gonna be together, not just during the time of this deployment, but forever. That was what he said to me. And the reason he did that is because he overheard me tell somebody that I didn't think anybody gave a damn. I walked away from that conversation and I was like, man, all right, cool, it's a brotherhood. I get injured. I come back to my recovery, to the hospital, and I'm recovering in the States now. The guys are still deployed. The guys come back from their deployment. Shortly after that, I'm starting to visit patients now in the hospital. I'm talking to patients in the hospital. I'm starting to see, as I go into these patients' rooms, I'm seeing members from their unit coming to visit them for, you know, just a weekend, a long weekend, whatever, just to sit at the foot of the bed and just, you know, talk and, you know what you do, just shoot the shit. I'm starting to see this and I'm realizing nobody, even that lieutenant that said we're a brotherhood and we're gonna stick together and look after one another, no one has come to visit me. No one has called me from my unit. No one has made an effort. So I become resentful. Years later, I ended up connecting with a couple of the guys that were in the Humvee. And honestly, this is God's honest truth, what they said to me. They said, we're sorry that we didn't reach out to you sooner. We just didn't know what to say. And I'd said to them, now this is years later, I said, guys, I didn't need you to say anything. I just needed you to be there. This whole thing is, we were gonna figure this whole thing out together. That's all I needed, was for you guys just to be there. And they're like, yeah, we know that now and whatever. But this is the message that I want for you right now. Like, just imagine I'm grabbing your face. We spend so much time trying to prepare and say, well, if I'm gonna go into this situation, I need to have this, I need to have that. I gotta have all the right things. I gotta have everything prepared. Everything has to be perfect. That's not life. What I learned 6 months after I was injured, when I started visiting patients, I would walk into those rooms and it was heavy. It was heavy emotionally. You could tell there was some trauma inside of those rooms. I was 20 years old What makes you think that I had everything that I needed to walk inside of those rooms and help those individuals? I had nothing but experiences. That's it. And I didn't really quite understand my experiences at that point. But I was still willing to walk into the room. I was still willing to put myself in the space. I was still willing to be uncomfortable. I didn't focus on, well, I got to make sure I bring this book, or I got to make sure no, I just walked in. And what I ended up getting from those interactions was I can impact people in a different way. Again, is I can be of service again, because that was one of the things that I was struggling with, not being in the military anymore. You know, use my story to inspire people. Like, I started all of a sudden now having purpose and identity again. And I just felt like, oh, this is great. You got to stop overthinking it, because when you spend all this time thinking about it, what it does is it prevents you from actually even moving in the first place. I'm encouraging you to just show up. The only tools you need is an open heart and an open mind. That's it. And I guarantee you, if you continue to show up in that way to any situation that feels uncomfortable, a situation that gives you a pit in your stomach, then that's the right space for you to be in. Because that tells me that's an opportunity, that's an area of your life, my life, all of our lives, that's telling us we need to pay attention to, we got to continue to grow. So, you don't want to sit here and all of a sudden be avoiding all of these situations and not react, not moving, not being proactive. And then all of a sudden life passes you by. Because it will. Life will continuously try to present you with, hey, here's the lesson, here's an example, here's an opportunity. And if you're not meeting it where it is, gone. So stop overthinking it. Let's start showing up. Most importantly, the only thing you need is an open heart and an open mind. I don't care if you're 15 years old. I don't care if you're 55 years old. I don't care if you're 95 years old. All of us. Those are the only two things that we need. Because I guarantee you, every situation that you go into with those two things, it's going to give you what you need for that period of your life. It's going to give you what you need. So trust, people. Peace.